People are very confused. They call the stuff in their wallet money. They call the stuff in the bank account money, and it isn't. It's all debt-based. It's all owed back plus interest. Money is not debt, and people have to start learning the difference. So this corrupt monetary system that we have has created this warped economy. The world would be very different. There's a reason that gold and silver are called honest money. Governments can't create them at whim. Banks can't create them at whim. So we're going to have an entire generation trying to retire on nothing, with the government, expecting the government to take care of them. And the problem is, they're the majority, so they're going to vote for the government to take more and more from the producers and give to the consumer. We were punishing production and prosperity, and we are rewarding consumption and being freeloaders, basically. So far, I don't evaluate Bitcoin as a store of wealth, but I love the fact that the free markets are trying alternatives to government-mandated and manipulated currency systems.
Water has been delivered as a right, as a free good for 100 years. And things that are produced consistently below production cost become viewed as free goods, public goods. And that party goes on until it's over. When it's over, it's truly over. But the consequence is that there aren't very many water companies. I've been investing myself in water rights for 25 years. People that want to participate have to buy agricultural companies that own water rights for the purposes of watering crops. My suspicion is that so much of the Chinese economy is informal, that on a purchasing power parity basis, they're already the largest economy in the world. I think we've seen increasingly that the Chinese are able to compete with us in the markets for things like natural resources. If the Chinese economy were to liberalize more, if there was to be more freedom in China, and if there was less of a central focus, if the markets were allowed to work more, I think that China would outpace the United States very, very, very aggressively.
Throughout all of North America, Canada, the US, and I think even Mexico soon will look at legalizing marijuana, because the mood is right around the world. It's been so long of spending billions of dollars on persecution and punishment in jails. It's not worth anybody's time or money, and we're moving into a new system. I think there'll be a lot of companies under the new Health Canada program, and they will need to ask the government to legalize it for all adults so that they can maximize their profits and the marketplace they can provide to, and so that Canadians aren't getting arrested for buying it in one way but being given access by the government through another way. It's unfair and unbalanced, and a true free market will allow everybody to have a shot. We're only going to reach that potential multi-trillion-dollar legal industry if it's legal, not under this halfway medical marijuana system. Compassionate cannabis capitalism, where we make money, we make jobs, we make people happy and healthy, but we make sure we end prohibition, because you can't arrest some people and yet sell it, the same product to others.
The greatest energy short ever will be the LNG sector, what's going on. First of all, BC is 5 years behind Australia. And if you look at the cost overruns of Australia, it's been a disaster. The cost to ship it from BC is much more expensive than from Australia. And not only is this just a conventional gas deal, the Russians are also doing LNG. And the day that this energy deal was signed, the president of China said, and I quote, "China must rethink its strategy for security. This includes a new union including Russia and Iran, and not including the US and the EU. Japan has been a big importer of BC copper and BC coal. It's the Pacific Rim advantage, so BC has to work closer with Japan, and they're a great country to work with. Prosperity would not get its permit because it was not worth the risk for Prime Minister Harper. He's an Alberta boy. This pipeline's important, and you'll see in 20 years we're going to have pipelines to the west, we're going to have pipelines to the east, and a pipeline to the south. It's what makes sense for Canada as a country, and we need to do it. We're going to do it properly, but it will get done.
It's important to take a look at the cannabis industry. It's very important to decriminalize the industry. Many people go to jail for very minor offenses. It has a very huge cost to somebody arrested in terms of their future opportunities as a young man or woman to go to jail and have a criminal record for something like this. As a taxpayer, the money used to incarcerate these people is you just have to make business decisions. If you're a government, you have to make a business decision. Is it in the best interest to have these people locked up? I don't think so. It starts as its reputation as a drug. It starts as it's something associated with crime and associated with smoking and health hazards. And I think that historically that may have been true. But I think that the change in sentiment comes because of the scientific data. Once the science reveals the benefits of things, society seems to shift. And I think that that's what's happening here.
The expectation is that the last 8 or 10 years of Congress government was a very indecisive and weak government. And the people are now expecting that Modi would be a very strong personality who will be able to take decisions very quickly. And I don't agree with that at all. There are so much of entrenched interests in that country. There's corruption and bureaucracy. As I said the last time, I have never met an Indian bureaucrat who does not want a bribe. So how do you get rid of such entrenched interests? Modi is not a good guy in my view. He's a Hindu fanatic who was responsible for a massacre of, or at least allegedly responsible for massacre of over 1,000 Muslim in the province of Gujarat, which he was ruling until last week. Gold price has fallen a lot. Indians are expecting that this 14% premium will eventually vanish because Modi's party has a strong support from gold traders.
If you managed to sit out the decline in the last 4 years, or at least took your money off the table, now's a good time to look around. And it's so easy now to see the dead companies, the pretend companies. They haven't been suspended or delisted, but they're there just trading as zombies, illiquid markets, undertaking rollbacks, going down 90%, and just becoming shells, abandoning their assets, doing nothing. Well, scandium is this obscure metal which does wonderful things to the aluminum market. It makes the aluminum stronger. It has, it's more conductive. It has a higher melt point. The airline industry would love to make its airplanes out of aluminum scandium alloy brackets and skins. It would reduce their weight 15 to 20%.
I think we're looking at maybe in July, sometime this year, we'll start to see either some easing or a lifting of these import restrictions, and that'll really kick some more demand into gold. So that is going to be a big factor in the gold market going forward for the second half of this year. And with China continuing to buy incredible amounts of gold, those two, number one and number two gold buyers back in full force in the market could have a very positive effect on the gold price. Russia continues to add to their gold holdings. This isn't nothing new. They've been in a steady trend, but this last month was a lot larger. What happened was Russia has been liquidating their treasury bonds. There's a lot of other things going on between Russia, China, and the dollar, but they are looking into increasing their gold assets along with China as they look to have a stronger currency and one that has better reputation that they can now compete more with the US dollar. And gold is a very instrumental part of this. They need that to bring trust and integrity to their currency.
In the next year, I see gold starting to slowly track higher. I think we're going to see a bit of a dip going into the summer here with the seasonality of the precious metals, and there's going to be downward pressure on the prices, but long term, I'm still very much a gold bull, and I do think gold prices are going higher. I personally think we're in almost an eye of a hurricane in the Eurozone right now. It's definitely a calm before the storm again. The euro is an ultimately doomed currency, and every way you look at the euro, it should go down. The problem is it's been going against what the common sort of thought or thinking is, and it's been rising quite dramatically against the US dollar. Everybody's looking to short the euro, but they've been getting killed by it because of the demand for it. Long term, I think the euro is doomed, but I think we're in the middle of the hurricane right now.
Events like this conference that we're in the middle of right now are a tremendous way of doing that. You've got the opportunity to get face-to-face with the management of a large number of companies where you can chat with them. And from my perspective, I won't invest in a company or recommend a company unless I've been face-to-face with management. I'm absolutely ecstatic about the money that China is spending in the resource sector. Okay, they are buying up 60% of the iron ore in the world. They're buying 40% plus of the copper and the lead and the zinc and the nickel, and having done that, has driven up the prices of those commodities and made a lot of money for a lot of us in this industry over the last decade. People are terrified right now. They hear about the headlines talking about the slowdown in China. Yeah. Well, let's be clear on that. The slowdown means only growing at 7.5% a year. Right. That means that next year they're going to be using 7.5% more metal than they use this year. And this year they used a lot of metal. So I'm not in the least bit concerned about the so-called slowdown in China.
What's happening and what's been happening for the last several years, and especially during the last downturn we've had since February, is that a small group of U.S. bullion banks led by J.P. Morgan Chase and a handful of other traders on the COMEX are shorting the metal and using high-frequency trading techniques to drive the price of silver, gold, platinum, and palladium, and all the other precious metals, along with copper, down to low levels so they can buy all the long contracts they can and get everybody else to go short. And they've succeeded in doing that, and that's why the price is as low as it is today. There's nothing to do with supply and demand at all. I had to laugh when I saw the story come up about the Barclays trader who actually fixed the London PM gold fix because he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And you know, the fixing, and it really is a fix. They can jockey those numbers any way they want, but the problem just doesn't lie with the fix, with the AM fix or the PM fix. It's the entire commodity exchange itself that is run by the CME group. They let the traders run rampant over the price of commodities. And this gentleman who got at Barclays who got caught is just symptomatic of a much, much larger problem, and the fix is only one of many problems.
You know, the tax regime in particular, I don't worry about that at all. I have no doubt that the industry and the government are going to come to a reasonable resolution. Right now, everybody's doing their positioning, they're negotiating, so the media grabs this headline and grabs that headline. But at the end of the day, this is going to get done. Personally, the way I kind of see this playing out is over a much longer timeline, where we're going to get gas pipelines done, and then you're going to see something like Gateway, probably not owned by Enbridge, maybe by somebody else, piggyback on the right-of-way that the gas lines do, but that's a few more years delay. At this stage, I don't know how much say the Harper government's going to have. They can approve it, but if you don't have your social license, you're going to have a problem.
I personally think right now we're going to be experiencing the great dust bowl of the summer of 2014 here in the junior market. I think it's going to get really ugly this summer. I think when it comes back, it'll be very slow and hesitant. But I can see further down the road, 2015, 16, and beyond, it actually looks really quite good for a number of fundamental reasons. I don't care what metal it is. What I want to do is identify and own the companies with the best deposit out there.